What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Off the Top Rope, Off the Mic Sports Network. So I did a kind of pretty in-depth reaction to really the conclusion of TNA Slammiversary, and also, by extension, the women's championship match, the title match between um, Masha Slamovich and JC Jane, which JC Jane won, and now both TNA world championships are now held by NXT wrestlers, which to me is not the greatest thing in the world. But in looking back on it, I can kind of see a direction of what they're trying to do here, because they're trying to secure a television deal. And, obviously having WWE eyeballs on it could create an opportunity. So maybe that's a piece of this. Then again, I don't really know what the end game. They did the same thing with at least on the men's side with the TNA World Championship with Joe Hendry last year, where they decided to have him chase it into 2025, and then he won it from Nick Nemeth at Genesis, I think, at the start of the year, and he walked into both the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania as the TNA World Champion, which was good visibility for TNA. What's really interesting about this is AEW immediately after, and when I initially saw this, right like 15 minutes after, from Tony Khan, basically saying, thank you for all who watch AEW. AEW is having a great 2025. It's also almost like a bot. Thanks to the AEW Wrestlers Company staff, all who watch AEW shows and pay-per-views this year, blah, 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 blah. See you Wednesday. And initially when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is kind of cute. AEW trying to be, a little facetious and, be a little strategic and, capitalizing on, a lot of the internet kind of shitting all over the ending of that show. And let me be clear. Part of the problem is that, TNA's champions are NXT performers. Also, the ending of that main event was not good. It was not good. It was a quintessential heel triple threat trope that you see countless amounts of times, where Trick Williams basically sat out the last 5 minutes of the match, feigning a knee injury. You could see this coming from a mile away. And, Santana hits his finish twice on Joe Hendry. And then Trick Williams just throws Santana out of the ring and gets the pin, and the show's over. And to me, that was really flat. Also, the fact that everybody wanted Santana to win that match. So, but upon seeing the Tony Khan tweet, literally like 10 to 15 minutes after the show ended, for TNA, and then also seeing the countless amounts of fanboy media, fanboy accounts, all the typical bot accounts that are AEW lovers, just shitting all over this and saying, man, I even saw Drainmaker, who I've referenced on here. He put up the Adam Page, him opening up the briefcase. And I was like, man, are you guys some of the most insecure little shits in the wrestling sphere? Like, what the fuck? TNA, in large chunk, aside from those two very questionable decisions, had a really good night tonight. Almost 8,000 people in New York. Biggest crowd they've ever had. This is, widely considered the third best promotion in North America. AEW walked in day one as number 2, but they've been sinking for a while. So I found it really rich that after the fact, AEW was just, and a bunch of people were just dunking all over everything, when, let's be real, you guys had less than 1,500 people in a ballroom after your biggest show of the year. Yes, you did stick the landing, but the early showings of what has come out of this, as what has come out of Hangman winning, have not been good. I talked about their creative and their decision-making to have Hangman wrestle back-to-back weeks against the Death Riders in the Death Riders vortex, which he needs to get away from. He needs to start creating a different story and a different legacy with this championship. Some of it is the blood and guts thing, but I don't really care about that. Hangman's been fighting the Death Riders for 2 months. We need to move off of that, okay? And then it's just like, okay, yeah, you had a great pay-per-view. In my eyes, you stuck the landing in the major things. But let's not forget, for AEW, as All In was good. It could have been a lot better if it wasn't as long, and the first 2 hours of that show was not good. TNA Slammiversary, if you take out that questionable ending and, Masha Slamovich losing to JC Jane, which, was a good match. And, there were some shenanigans in there that I didn't really like, but it was a good match. But you take a look at the rest of the show. Um, you have obviously that Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali opener was incredible. The Leon Slater Moose X Division title match was great. AJ freaking Styles, that was an awesome moment. Some people were underwhelmed that they thought, hey, maybe he could go challenge for like the world championship against Trick Williams to close out the show. Listen, I think what this looked like was just, AJ Styles getting some finality because he didn't go out the way that he wanted to near the end. For anybody who knows, there were some issues with him about 10 years ago with Dixie Carter that led to his departure from there. And he hadn't really gotten an opportunity to go back there for a decade. Went to New Japan, was in WWE. He had that brief video. He was in a video package to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of Slammiversary a few years ago, the 20-year anniversary of TNA a few years ago. So for him to come in there, he was one of the most prominent stars there, X Division star, really made his heyday. So for him to put his endorsement on Leon Slater after that incredible match, the kid's 20 years old and he's fucking extraordinary. So that was awesome. Hardy's, winning. I've never seen, but leave it to Matt and Jeff to come up with, hey, let's have a rope ladder win a ladder match when we kill every single ladder known to man in this match. By the way, AJ Francis, I hope your balls are okay. Lesson when you're trying to take a bump like that, do not jump into the ladder. Just take it in your back. I don't get it. So, but there was some insane stuff on this show. Indy Hartwell and Tessa Blanchard had a really good match. Everybody was chanting that Tessa was a racist, which was great. And then, they got some heat on her at the end where she attacked an interviewer, Gia Miller, which, got her suspended. So, like I said, this was a good show for TNA. It's just I was very critical of how they stuck the landing, which is, whereas AEW was some questionable stuff throughout the show, but in their 4 biggest matches, they really landed the plane. So I just find it really rich that AEW sickos are so fucking insecure about TNA having a bad ending to their show. And they're just dunking all over the place. Why don't you guys focus on your own product? If you're so great and you're the number 2 promotion, because you walked in the door in 2019 as the number 2 promotion, TNA for 20 years, since about 2004, 2005, had universally been considered very far down the totem pole as the second best promotion at WWE. And then obviously when they brought Hulk Hogan in, they were actually doing some decent ratings. And then they foolishly decided to compete with Monday Night Raw. And that kind of killed the company with Hogan and Eric Bischoff. But I'm not here to say that, TNA is fucking dead after making the decision. Let's see what happens here. They had a questionable ending to the show, but that does not mean that they, if they pursue this and they go with some sort of an invasion angle, this could legitimately be very interesting. So far, AEW, for as great of an ending as they had to their biggest show in North America last week, have not done a very good job in the first week of television. And based off what I am seeing in the second week of this build, it is not very good either. Now, I'm not going to make this whole stark comparison and, engage in tribalism and say that AEW, that, Slammiversary was better than All In. But TNA did a decent job. But in its biggest moments, it missed the mark. That was my point in my other video that I put up here on the channel. And I just find it really rich that AEW sickos, including Tony Khan, initially I thought it was kind of cute. And then I thought about it. And I was like, this ain't it. You gotta, what do you have? What do you have to worry about with TNA? If you guys are so great and you have the roster that you do, why are you, dunking on TNA when they missed an opportunity? Some people are saying TNA is going to TNA. Like TNA's made some bad decisions, but they got 8,000 people into New York when they haven't been able to do that. So clearly the WWE partnership has worked. Now, what they're going to do for their promotion now with the 2 world championships being held onto by WWE, that's a completely separate issue. So I've got to let that play out and got to see that through. I was very emotional when I saw the ending of this, and that's why I came on the video and I basically said TNA kind of missed the mark in that regard. But if this is riling up AEW people so much, why don't you go book better shows? Because outside of pay-per-views, this company on a week-to-week basis, television-wise, has not hit all year. They have not hit all year. It has not been a good week on week-to-week television. This week, a follow-up to your biggest show of the year. You're in front of less than 2,000 people, and you have your world champion wrestling in a random trios match where he can't even get a definitive pin. What kind of booking is that? How you follow up is what matters. They didn't land the plane at the end of the show, TNA, I'm talking about. But if they can make a compelling angle to get us to Bound for Glory through using NXT television, this could actually be something that could, put some energy in them and could potentially get them a mainstream TV deal. Clearly, they have something in mind. I don't know what it is, but we'll have to see. So anyways, thanks for watching here. We'll have a lot more coming here on the channel. Thanks, and appreciate everybody who subscribes here. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.